Welcome back to the channel. A lot has been shaking on the world stage. Mr. Warp Speed is back in office, threatening tariffs. Markets have responded in kind. We've seen meme coins go crazy. We've seen Bitcoin responding. We've seen markets now in turbulence or in shock. There's a lot going on, and people have a lot of questions in terms of where's the market going to be headed. Some of you have seen some of my interviews where I talked about a potential top being around the first quarter in 2025. So I've gotten some questions about more specific timing with that. And as I've mentioned before, there are reports in which Christine and I have talked about this. So there is my 2025 yearly report where I go in depth about market predictions. And there's also reports that she and I have done together where we cover predictions for the 12 signs. So you guys can check that out in terms of how that affects your specific energy. But in terms of what's happening within the next month or so, we have the one and only Christina, the very multi-talented astrologer who is going to go into several charts, including Trump himself, what's going on with Elon and his effects in terms of actually cutting down some of the budget in the government and how that's affecting a lot of the employees. I know many people personally, just as an American myself, who in some cases are working in government and have some concerns about whether they'll be having a job at the end of the year. So Christina might touch a little bit on Elon and his effects on the market. And we will, of course, look at some particular stocks and assets to just see how they are projected forward. We might look at the S&P as we typically do. We'll take a look at Bitcoin, gold, and maybe a couple of others. Whatever she has to share with us, I'm sure we'll get a lot of value out of it. So make sure you leave your comments below in terms of what you learned, what you'd like to see next time, because Christina and I will be doing this every month in terms of just keeping you guys updated. And of course, you guys can check out my newsletter, which her and I work on for more in-depth detail in terms of how we see the markets going month to month. So if you want more specific data and timing on dates, you can check that out as it relates to particular assets. So with that, welcome back to the channel. Hello, Christina. How are you?
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much to having me back. At the very beginning, I would like to actually clear the air out a little bit because I saw the comments and then I would like to, because somebody asked, how do I know they have different birthdays? Some of the data what we use, I always use Susan Abbott and Kristen Skinner books. And actually Susan Abbott has a whole entire sheet printed out, all the data and all the first trade. I don't know, I have something on my chin, something just like, okay,
You
I
mean
get off. So
using Dell?
you have to understand, guys, this is the one what we are using, and she is
Yeah.
an excellent astrologer, let me just say. But you know what, Sama, let's just
I
put
can see it.
everything.
I don't know if I can see her name. Can you hear me?
Yes, I do hear
Okay.
you.
Her name is Susan Goodell, right?
Yes, Susan Abbott Gidal. And
Okay.
we're going to, you know what we're gonna do? We're going to put a link below and we're going to put the books what they can use. Because somebody said, the SPX, she had a different data. And in some cases, because of for example, it's going to change the name. For example, Facebook had changed the name, right, and became Meta, but Facebook was Face Mesh before, and I always analyzed everything, even the previous birthday of the company as well. So if you have different data, that's all right. You can analyze all of it and you can compare it, and that's how you're going to make prediction, and that's how you're going to become better and better and better. And of course there could be error as well, we are human being, right? And that's when you're going back and reanalyze and you see, okay, what's happened over here. And the other thing, what I have to tell to everyone, the geopolitical circumstances and the weather related or anything to do what could affect the market, it's natural disasters, war, peace, right? And geopolitical issues always going to affect the market. So we always have to consider and we always have to check the people who are very, very influential in this world right now. And we have to check their astrological chart as well. And sometimes we don't know and we have no clue of the time of the birth. But actually, Christine Skinner, who is an amazing financial astrologer for England, she's an older lady, she did say you can use the 9 a.m. all the time if you don't know the birthday. However, during my researches, I did realize if something coming through, for example, SPX, I'm going to use the data of the SPX. So for example, they start to trade at 10 a.m. or the New York stocks start to trade at 9:30, then I'm gonna use exactly that hour wherever that stock going to appear first, okay? So then we use that birthday details and that's birthday time for the stock. All right, if you don't know the stock. So you don't have to use the 9 a.m., but Christine said, but you use the already established stock platform. The platform, the new one is coming through the birthday when they first start to trade daily. All right. So I just wanted to explain, and obviously, because of we need to look, the political climate all the time. So the people who are very influential, very, very important because it's affect the market. For example, the new tariff, which we going to put on Canada, it's already been, and even Europe, what it's going to do, if we have the SPX, some of the stock over there going to decrease or increase. Why? Because of obviously that it's going to be increase in prices. Why? Because of export import businesses, right? So we have to check everything and do the research to be a whole entire holistic view, right? So you analyze everybody, and it's not easy, guys, because you have to compare charts. So it is like a lot of time and it's a lot of energy to analyze something like that. But today I'm going to try to actually go by uh, the Uranian energy. For example, Uranus gonna go to Gemini, air sign, right? It's going to, and Pluto went to Aquarius, which is ruled by Saturn and Uranus. So it's going to be at least the next 7 years, cryptocurrency and technology, anything to do with rocket lab, anything to do with space mining, anything to do with AI, ChatGPT, uranium, artificial intelligence. Those are going to be the field that's going to grow like crazy, right? And if you listen the news, when you do your researches, you read a lot. And you watching podcasts, you listening news, when I'm working 5 miles every day, I have my, headphone on and I'm constantly listening news. And for example, last time I mentioned, in California, and actually on my channel, I did a video for California, and that it's going to be a Pluto return for California. So, there might be more situation with fires or destructions, unfortunately. Plus, they found uranium deposit for $600 billion worth, guys. What is uranium? Then you check what they are using those kind of metals or for example, what they are using uranium for and or tin for. You always check also, okay, uranium is used in, for example, AI, uranium used in anything to do with spaceships, right? So then you are obviously analyzing the recent political situation, what they want, what Elon wants, right? He wants to colonize Mars. And actually, that was a very, very recent Joe Rogan talk show, I mean podcast, when Joe Rogan said it was so crazy. There was a writer who wrote about Elon who went to Mars in 1953. And Elon Musk father, it's a children book. Elon Musk father read this book, and
Mm.
actually that's how he named Elon to Elon, right? And
Yeah.
what's the, I mean, this is
Also the
crazy.
Barron Trump book too. Did you hear about that? I'm
No,
sure you, oh,
I
you didn't?
didn't.
Oh, I'll send you the
No.
link on that. Yeah, supposedly there's a story of time traveling Trumps. I'll send you I'll send you a video on it. Yeah, the adventures of little Baron Trump. But yeah,
Oh,
all of
that
this.
one, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
okay,
Little
so
Baron. Okay,
yeah.
that's different. Yes, I just heard it. One of my videos, somebody mentioned. Yes, yes, yes.
So
The
everything Christina has just mentioned has affected the research that we did in the stocks that we picked and the reports that we make together. Everything she just said about uranium are things that I've researched on a fundamental perspective and have picked stocks with astrological charts that I was able to identify that are most likely to do well in this scenario. So you can see how these things are weaved together. Why has Sama been recommending uranium for all these years? Why has Sama been recommending gold for all of these years? And you guys can see in price, and now you're hearing what a narrative, how this relates to AI. Pluto returned. Pluto rules volcanoes, things hidden underneath the ground. Now they found uranium deposits. Why is that
Oh,
useful?
actually, it's
Oh,
lithium. I'm so crazy. It's
lithium, lithium,
lithium.
lithium,
Yes,
same
it's
thing. Energy.
same thing. Mhm.
The main thing that even when I talked about climate change wars a couple of years ago, the narrative has shifted, but the argument is still the same. The climate change wars thing that I was explaining to you guys was an issue about energy. And that's with the Uranus and Taurus change in how energy is being used. It's being more technological and it's being more volatile. We're looking at now new energy sources. Why? Because AI is very power intensive. Bitcoin, very power intensive. And you're seeing an administration who on the first day has announced, it's an emergency. These are the things I care about. I'm putting 500 billion behind this. And they're putting a lot more behind these things than that. Okay. So where the government is going to print money and allocate it, these stocks and companies that are in position to do well are going to soak all that money up. So if you want a cut of that, I suggest you check out our reports because the fundamentals, the technicals, and the astrology are what we're putting into that stuff. And this is what we're covering when we do these free videos as well. So you guys can see how the energetic effects affect which companies do well and which ones suffer, and how by looking at the charts by some of the individuals Christina's going to cover here in a moment, you can get a heads up in your investment strategy in terms of saying, okay, Trump is likely going to support Tesla, or he's going to support the people who own the companies that are around him. So that's why they're looking at Trump's chart. That's why someone's recommending these companies. That's the logic behind it. So I want you guys just to be able to follow along with that so that you guys just don't think that we're just the types of astrologers say, oh, Mercury's here, or that buy this. That's not what's happening here at all.
No.
There's
So
levels to it.
listen, guys, financial astrology or any kind of astrology, it's not a simple necessarily technique. I always check actually multiple timing technique, and also even if I don't have the right birthday time, the time of the birth, I still see the planets, and everything is synodic cycle or the Soros cycle, right? So, everything is working out in cycle. It's not going to happen necessarily the same day. Sometimes it's very literate astrology, but it's working out. Even the lunation, it's either 2 weeks or 6 months, right? Because of the eclipses, the nodes. So it's working on in cycles. And the outer planet is very important in finances. And we also check few asteroids, which is Juno, Vesta, and what Vesta, Juno, and Ceres also, and the fourth one, which I really love, and I forget the name. Help me.
You mentioned Vesta.
Yes, Pallas Athene, Pallas Athena. Yes, but you can actually use Tishe, for example, for abundancia. You can use the Rockefeller asteroid. So you can use a lot of asteroid. I always use declination as well, and I check the Ptolemy essential dignity of the chart, and I always check the out of bound planets, guys. So even for example,
Mars being out of
Trump,
bounds lately and the recent movements in markets.
yes.
Always with Mars out of bounds, you can almost always, particularly if Mars is in a volatile sign, like in Cancer, you can almost always expect some type of movement. Whether that's to the upside or the downside, you need to look at more technical things. But out of bounds planets and declinations, for those of you who are really into financial astrology, that is an area where you want to spend some time learning and studying for sure.
Usually, when it's in fall, like right now in Cancer, the market is volatile, but it's going and decreasing. And if it would be in Capricorn, for example, out of bound, in for example, exaltation Mars, then it would actually increase very highly. So you have to check the essential dignity, and you have to check also if it's exalted or actually if it's in fall or in detriment. For example, Uranus at this moment, it's in detriment, right? And it's in exaltation in Scorpio, detriment in Taurus, but it's gonna leave soon. And why? Everything is the economic stock or whatever, cryptocurrency, it's going to rise, the AI going to rise. So it's very important. So I do check the day ruler, the hour of the ruler, the chart ruler, if I have the right birthday, right? And then I also check the field area and I check declination over here. So it's not just like, okay, it's gonna go over here and that's why it's going to go increase. I really go deep into all the kind of analysis. And let me just show Trump right now, because I keep saying Trump is still in danger, guys. And I just going to share that with you over here. Let me see. Yes, that's Trump here. So
While
first
you're pulling that up, I'll just say really quickly to this point because we're getting really technical today for whatever reason. Those of you who have different charts for different stocks, I would suggest, are you keeping logs or results of what's happening when you're making predictions with those? Because every moment you can assign an astrological chart for it. The planets are always in motion, and that's always having an effect that you can interpret in terms of the symbolism. The momentum of that is going to continue to be tracked, which is why a company can have a stock chart that you can look at, and that's going to have a different time and date compared to when the company was inaugurated. So there are different ways that you can look at this that will still allow you an insight into what you're looking at. It doesn't have to necessarily be the same chart. What matters is it effective? Is it helping
of,
you? If when you see a particular like the angle or the cusp degree of the first or the fourth or the seventh or the tenth or any of the chart rulers in a particular aspect, is something actually happening with the stock? You can check. What's happening. You can check the news. Did the CEO get fired or something? You can see if nothing's happening and you're noticing that over time, then maybe you don't want to use that chart anymore. Right. So this is ways that you don't need to rely on Christina or me or get into arguments in the comment section. You can use your own data. And because her and I have done that, this is what gives us confidence in our research and allows us not to necessarily worry about what others are saying. But yeah, please continue. You have Trump's
On the
chart up.
other hand, I do reach out for Susan Gidal, and she's amazing. She's a very busy, very, very busy woman and well-known and honored in financial astrology, but she still managed to answer me back, even if it's one sentence or just one data, but she always managed to answer me back. So it's just amazing. So for example, we started a cycle with Uranus, the cycle starts when a planet, an outer planet, and not necessarily an outer planet, it could be inner or social planet as well, conjunct. So always the cycle starts over there. And last year we had a lot of conjunction with Uranus, right? And Uranus actually is in Taurus. So Uranus went the last 7 years through Taurus. And it started, for example, with Mars, also a synodic cycle. And it's happened in July 15th. If you guys remember my video with Sama in February, end of February, where I said actually Trump going to get hurt, most likely it's going to be a gun and around the head. That's what I said. All right, it's not ending yet. And because of we also had 2 days ago a Leo full moon in 24 degrees, right? And what degree, what decan is that? We also going to get into decan. That's an Aries decan. That is the fighter king, right? Energy. The leader are fighting right now, or leaders are fighting. And actually, it's happened 24 degrees on Donald Trump's Mars. And he also have an ascendant 29 degrees Leo, which is on Regulus, which is Archangel Raphael, right? And Archangel Raphael, because of the healer, it could save him a few times, but is it going to save him all the time? Listen, Midheaven is conjunct with Algol for him. Algol could be very, very practical and really good in finances, right? But also Algol is the beheaded, right? It had been beheaded and it's falling as well. By the way, Trump has a really, really positive chart. Look at that. Day of Venus, hour of Jupiter, chart ruler is Sun. The only actually, if you check the Ptolemy essential dignity over here, it's only Mercury, which has no dignity. So Mercury is the way you communicate. It's coming off very weird. Whenever, a lot of people loves him, adores him, and a lot of people hate him. That's why, because Mercury, the way he express himself, somebody going to extremely love him and somebody not. Even if people hate Obama, they always agree the way he speaks beautifully, right? And his speech is always very well structured, and he's capable to maintain. Or, for example, Jordan Peterson, the psychologist from Canada, I think Jordan Peterson, he's also very well, the way he express himself. But that's the difference over here. So Mercury and Trump, Mercury is out of bound with Pluto. So guess what? It also creating some kind of craziness the way he speaks. So it doesn't matter if you love him or hate him, guys. This is astrology. I'm just going to interpret the energy over here and why does it affect the whole entire market over here. Obviously, he's the leader. He's the little king over here, Regulus Raphael, right? And actually, he's a fighter because Mars loves to be in Leo because
Everything you just said too speaks to the pro-crypto nature of what we're seeing too, by the way, with the out of bounds Mercury, the Pluto, Uranus at the 11th. Just pointing that out. Yeah, just continue.
yes, but that is only in the chart of him right now. But
Right.
yes, but on the other hand, he has Uranus in Gemini, so this is also, even his social circle is very unpredictable and really different. Uranus in Gemini, he can have the most awkward friends as well. So he doesn't care about if it is very young, very old, what color, he just have all kind of nature of friends. For example, Uranus in Gemini in the 11th house, right? Okay, but what I wanted to talk about the Uranus being in Taurus. Taurus is Mother Earth Gaia. It's going to bring in a lot of earthquake because we had the full moon actually in 24 degrees. And Uranus at this moment is 24 degrees and it's conjunct with Algol. It's going to bring in issues with nuclear issues. And guess what? At this moment, I just came in, sat down right in front of the computer to have this video with you. And George was just telling me, Christy, accidentally, they actually had a bomb on Chernobyl again. And I was like, are you kidding me? So that was, I was keep saying that 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when the war started, like they going to hit Chernobyl again or some kind of nuclear structure somehow. So they did today. So that is the that is the aftermath of the full moon. And the full moon, as I said, not that day. It's at least 2 weeks of lunation, or most likely 6 months of lunation over here. So let's see when the new moon in Leo going to happen, what's gonna happen until then. So the full moon is going to work out, but in Trump's situation, and I just going to actually show that chart for you guys. So I'm gonna go by progression because he is really in danger. And why is it very important if he is danger? Because of doesn't matter if he, for example, pass as a martyr or like if then the whole entire structure going to change. Uranus is a rebellion, right? Uranus is social unrest. This full moon was squaring with it. So social unrest because of a leader or because of maybe because of the tariff and everything he wants to do, or maybe because of he gets hurt and social unrest. So no matter what, but it creates some kind of social unrest over here. And I just want to show a trivial, and let me know if you see that. So I'm going to have his natal progress and the transit over here. Do you see the trivial for Trump?
I do now. Yeah.
So I also have to tell you guys, I also check solar arc because it's an amazing predictive technique. And also I always put the trivial and the solar return chart for the president, for Elon Musk, for even Bitcoin. I do, because that's the only way when you can see everything and get better and better. And of course, there could be some kind of error. But here it is what you can see. So Uranus is on his midheaven, right? And then it's squaring with Mars and ascendant. So that's bad enough over here. But what else is bad? Saturn in the eighth house is never really positive because Saturn in the eighth house could bring in some kind of lymphatic cancer or poisoning over there, right? Because eighth house is poison. I was talking about that. He does have also progress moon in 12 degrees, and it's still an opposition with Uranus because it's actually 11 degrees between them, and Uranus and the moon, we go up until 12 degrees. So it's still an opposition with Uranus, unexpected event, something in the homeland. It could be maybe poison. It could be maybe chemotherapy. I told you about this. And because Jupiter gonna go exaltation June 9th to his 12th house, Jupiter never positive in the 12th house, the 6th house, and the 8th house. It could be very malefic. 8th house, it could bring a lot of money in, but maybe because of inheritance and we don't want our parents to die, right? So that could be. So what I see over here, this man still in danger. We're going to have an opposition between Mars and Pluto. He has Pluto in the 7th house of open enemies, guys. It could be anyone. If you want to say that is BRIC nation, or it could be anything to do with, Democratic Party, you can say anything, but that's open enemies. And it's opposing Mars soon, April 27th, Mars and Pluto gonna oppose. But his transit Pluto also going to oppose his natal Pluto. And look at that. He has progress Saturn also in Leo. So there is an inclination over here where he actually could get hurt this year, and it could be a very unfortunate event. So that's what it is for Trump. And obviously, it would actually affect the market right away, right away. All right, so right now I just want to show Elon Musk, for example. Let's go to Musk and actually let's see his chart. And I'm just going to bring up actually the progress chart also for Elon, just check, what's going on with him here. I'm not even check, but you have to know Elon Musk also have out of bound planet and it's only Mercury. Trust me in this. I checked it before. Elon Musk Firdaria looks, however, good because a Firdaria is an other technique, prediction technique, and it's venting actually Venus and Moon, and Trump's going to be Saturn and Sun. So it could be very, very hard on vitality and on health for Trump, but Musk Firdaria is looking good. All right, so I just want to see the trivial over here for Elon as well. So let me see, natal, progress and transit. Here is Elon's chart. Why do we check Elon? Obvious, why do we check Elon, right? He's there. He's in the Oval Office. He's there every day. He sleeps over there. But he has a tendency anyway to sleep wherever he works at. So if he's working on a project, never goes home. He said he goes under his table and he has his little bed over there and he works there because he wants to meet everyone from his company in the morning. So he has that kind of very, you know, and plus he has a Cancer sun, Cancer ascendant, and Mercury in Cancer. Elon Musk originally was very, very nurturing person, but he got bullied many times, right? So there was a lot of failure. He's very, very vulnerable. He cried a lot in social media. So I saw him crying many times. So he's definitely truly um, how do you call that, vulnerable. And right now Mars is out of bound and in fall and in retrograde in his sign, first sign. So this is totally crazy for him. And you saw him to, like, meta communication. Did he salute, and was it something Nazi based kind of situation, or was he just very happy, and he didn't know what to do with his hand and he saluted like so? We can question that over here. We all know Elon has spectrum. He was talking about that. So he not necessarily communicate the way people expect or express himself the way people expect it, right? And you can see he's a family man. There is a stellium. I mean, ascendant, we don't consider into that stellium, but there is a big influence in Cancer. So he wants to colonize Mars. He wants to have more children. He talks about let's have more children, everyone. So he is really a family man over here, or he loves children at least, if you know. All right. So why is it very important over here? Because you can also see, for example, Trump's ascendant is falling into Elon's second house, right? So and actually, Elon stellium falls in Trump's 12th house. So he's behind the scene helping, right? If you do synastry in your head, helping the government, helping him. And then Elon and Trump is in his second house. So Elon helps Trump actually with finances, right? So manage the campaign and everything. So they work together, and it's like a semi sex tie between them. So it could be something positive. Plus, if you see, Elon Musk right now has 27 degrees progress Sun and Moon. It's a new moon on Trump's ascendant and Mars and on Regulus. So guess what? They are really, really creating something together, which could be financially, it's a breakthrough. It is something what never seen before, and it's obviously affect the market. But look at that, his progression, even Venus progressed and conjunct with this new moon on Trump, Mars, and ascendant. It's very important. That's why I always even do synastry between people, because then I can see how is it going to work out, right? And definitely, he has Aquarius, Mars, and North Node conjunction. Come on. Aquarius, anything to do with spaceship, anything to do with flying object. Mars could be the planet Mars, right? And then anything to do with mining, for example, space mining. So he put his life on this and he will succeed.
I'm not sure people are as aware about Elon's past with money. He was very close to what was happening with Bitcoin. He, I think, originally wanted PayPal.com to be called X.com, if I remember correctly. So he was around PayPal, he was around eBay. He's always wanted digital money to be a thing in the world. And that's something that he is working on in the background as it relates to Twitter or X or whatever it's called nowadays. So what you just said, I think it might have just, skipped people's ears, something that, Christina just said really quickly. But He has very deep intentions with digital money. And what you just said about him working with Trump to bring that in fruition, I think is very important. I think we are actually going to see something like that manifest over the next couple of years while Trump is in office. I think we'll see that. I think we will see what, we already mentioned with Larry Ellison about digital cancer vaccine bot things. I think we'll see that, and we'll see digital money, and I think we'll see a lot of digitization of things that are kind of meant to work together and shape a new world that we're living in. Okay, so these are things to be aware of
Absolutely.
that
And
you're
look,
not talking about as much.
that is true, and because of he has actually Trump in the second house of him, and he has a progression stellium in the second house. We always also check the axis energy. The axis energy for Elon is actually Mars in Aquarius, which is ruled by Uranus. So it's not just spaceship, but stock market and digital money. So it's obvious. So it's they together going to create the king, and he also feels like a little king over here, right? Because he has right now progression by progression, the sun and moon and new moon on Trump's sun. So yes, he is happening behind the scene, but Trump is in his second house, so it's great for Trump financially as well. So we can see that as well. So definitely, it's digital currency and anything to do with AI, ChatGPT, quantum AI, NVIDIA, whatever, lithium, uranium. And yes, I already corrected myself. They found lithium deposit. I'm sorry, for $600 billion, which is like insane. Are you kidding me? But they also use not only uranium and lithium for AI and technology and rocket ships. They also gonna use silver, especially in computers, smaller devices, phones, because we're going to run out from the resources, because with this space mining and everything, the technology gonna go so quickly,
Already right
we're
now.
gonna run out from that.
Yeah, we will. Yeah.
And on the other hand, also because they wanted to have Greenland, and I checked Greenland, and I always said they're going to find a deposit of oil somewhere. And I do believe there is a major deposit under the ice, and because everything started to melt, probably they're capable to see, or they have technology. Do you remember when 2 years ago I said they're going to have a train underwater, Saturn is train, Pisces is underwater, was gonna go from New York to Paris in an hour. Guess what? 2 weeks ago, I was listening his podcast with Joe Rogan or something, and he just said, Elon Musk, oh, by the way, I want to have something like under tunnel kind of situation underwater, and the train is going between New York and some European country. He said within an hour and a half. I was like, I can't believe that. And I said that on videos, and it's there. So yes, they're going to actually be amazing advantage of this, because technology could be really really great, but we are moving toward, we're gonna bypass banks, guys, because Pluto came out from Capricorn, which is Saturn road, and Saturn, obviously, Capricorn is anything to do with the government, shadow government. It is the agenda what they had before. It is like older male gentlemen usually who has the power in their hand. Right now it went to Aquarius. Aquarius is the crazy geniuses, right? It's humanitarian. It's gonna move toward. You don't see it yet, but you will very soon.
So I
We
have
are
to say
moving
something here.
toward.
I have to say something here because this is where a lot of people are probably not very educated on what the the worst case scenario with that could be. Is if money now goes into the hands of private companies, particularly in America, instead of it being through this Federal Reserve, which is really technically in control of Congress, which Congress are technically people we vote for in America. If that goes from being something that is in control of Congress to now a private company that doesn't have to report to Congress, then the people who control money no longer have to report to the American citizens or the people, which means they're just like every other central bank in the world. So that can lead to a situation where it's if you want to use this digital money, well, then you have to do this, that. And it doesn't have to do anything with American constitutional rights at that point. So for those of you who live in the United States, that's something to watch for because money is at the stage in America where it needs to transform it needs to change. This happens cyclically all the time, and this is part of why the time period we're living through, God bless us all, is so challenging because we have
Hmm.
I could keep going into this for a long time, just in terms of what the North Node in Aquarius is going to do, in terms of the baby boomer generation leaving, them selling a lot of the things that they own, and just all the chaos that's coming with AI taking away jobs as well. So all that is happening. Our money's going to be changing. There's a lot that's going to be changing that you guys just need to be prepared for because there's no really comparable time period in which all of these things were hitting all at once. And so just understand that if you see people starting to lose their mind or like this is a bit much to handle, it's because we've never really gone through this much change. Now, I'll just leave it at that. Let's get back to the financial stuff because
So,
I'll get
we have a lot of outer planet changing. So listen, and also social planets. So Saturn is changing sign. Synodic cycle every 29 years, 28 to 29 years. Right now, go to Aries, right? In Aries, in detriment, you always check the dignity, right? Neptune also changing signs, right? All right, okay. And then Pluto changed sign recently. And then Uranus gonna change sign for 8 years, right? 7 to 8 years, and gonna go to Gemini. We have Jupiter in Cancer exaltation. North Node moved to Pisces, South Node to Virgo. Guys, it is a crazy shift. It is like very, very intense. And that's why I tell to all my clients and friends, very important to surround yourself with like-minded people and do some kind of practical grounding. If you are capable to go out, I'm very lucky. I live in Florida, so I can ground with the barefoot. It's very important. If not, buy the grounding mat, make meditation, breathing technique, like anything what salt keeps, anything what capable to keep your health, your sanity, because of the way we changing, it's going to be so fast speed over here. Some of them who refuse to change, and that is the fixed signs, guys. So the fixed signs refuse. The mutable, we're gonna be okay. We can change. But the fixed signs like, Aquarius, Scorpio, and Leo, it's gonna be very hard for them, for example, because change not coming from easily for them. So as I said, learn AI. Don't refuse because a lot of people in the comment, no, I'm never gonna go digital. I'm never gonna go to crypto. Guys, that's gonna be the future if you want to or if you don't want to.
well, that was my
Everything.
point, is I'm sure a lot of those people are Leos or the Pluto in Leo generation, and now they're dealing with this opposition. And to be blunt, this is the generation in many cases that was dying away in 2020, and so that had a lot to do with an influx of Aquarian energy, right? Jupiter Pluto conjunction, Saturn Jupiter conjunction in Aquarius. And so this influx of an Aquarian energy it's going to take an adjustment. And with Pluto there, which destroys and transforms things, this is something to be very real about and to be very prepared for. The humanity as we know it is going to undergo a transformation. Some of that is going to be technological. I'm not really the biggest fan of that, but for some people, that's going to be a transformation in which it makes your life better. So it's really about understanding what is your situation, what works for you. I've had a very long and deep Aquarian experience myself, so I don't really need much more of it as we get into this. And so
Yeah.
what you said about grounding is very important, right?
Very.
Because you're all going to increase an influx in tech and in electromagnetic frequencies and a whole bunch of things that are very natural. So as you talk about grounding and flower essences or essential oils or all of these other things that you can incorporate that are more natural, balance is key, right? I make my money online, that's fine, but I also take time to take my shirt off and get vitamin D and be out in the sun, because I'm not meant to be in front of a computer inside all day. So these are things just to, make sure as much as you can within your life, how am I counterbalancing this increase in things that are unnatural, but yet have the human quality, which Aquarius is human, of improving my humanity and always
Mhm.
checking back. Is this tech and AI actually improving my humanity? Is this improving me as a human? Because that's what it should be for, at least in my opinion.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good transition point into how is some of this energy going to affect Bitcoin or the S&P, because I think a lot of people are very interested in that, particularly with some of the recent moves that they've seen in the charts.
Yes, so we're going to talk about that. And actually, do you want to talk about the SPX? Let me see if I have it here. Just tell them, what does it mean? Let me
Yeah,
see. Is
let's start with the S&P. I think that's a good place. People have some concerns about tariffs, and they should. Because what I've actually even looked at the tariffs myself, and what I don't like about them is the reality of what I'm seeing. And you actually touched upon it. I've talked about inflation coming back for years and how that's a very Neptune and Aries influence. I go in depth in that yearly report. But what I saw with tariffs as you look in them, and you guys can look this stuff up, is it's mostly food and lumber. That's
mm-hmm.
mostly what it is. And so, who does that affect directly? That doesn't affect Trump or any of those people in DC. That affects me, you, the everyday person. Our
Yeah.
lives are becoming more inflationary. And if you zoom out and you hear things about people having less or sharing more and being happy about it, these are some of the things that happen that inch us closer to that reality, inch us closer to a reality of things like universal basic income or digital currency. So these are things to be careful about and just understand that, okay, the trends are pointing to things like food or lumber or shelter becoming more expensive over the next, well, how long is Neptune in Aries? It's typically a 14-year transit, people.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys need to buckle up. In terms of even how it goes with interest rates in America, they typically don't stay around 0 to 2%. They've typically been around 8%. So we're going back to that type of era in this country, and that means the whole world is dealing with that. And that means everybody who has debt in American dollars is going to be feeling that too. So a shift in the economy, it's here, and that means the economic system has to change. And so I will again reference the climate change wars interview I did with Lotta, where I really break down a lot of this stuff. We are going into a time period where our system is shifting. Some people want that to be more communistic. Some people want that to be more freeing. I think you guys know where me and Christina stand on that matter. And it's important for you guys just to continue to be aware that these trends are very real and to use this knowledge and information to prepare yourselves for the outcomes that you want. So how does
Yes.
that affect the S&P? Well, as I've talked about in a lot of videos over the last year, most of the companies aren't doing that well. And for those of you who don't know how the S&P works is it's a weighted basket of companies. So the companies that are doing very well and are bringing in money, the weight of that basket will shift more money. It will allocate more money to those companies. So while it's called the S&P 500, really since COVID, it's been seven or so tech companies in the United States which have absorbed most of the money or the weight in that algorithm because most of the American economy, the money is driven by algorithms that manage large accounts of money for retirement funds, pension funds, governments, schools, universities, companies like BlackRock, Vanguard, they have large amounts of money to manage and they use algorithms to do that. So these algorithms have just been putting the money on the companies that have been doing the best. That's how the S&P 500 works. But the reality is it's only been a few companies, which means most of the American economy hasn't been doing that well. So why is it important to understand the mechanics of that? Well, then which company should you own? What's going to help you through the trends that are coming? That's what the reports are for, and that's why we're going to dive into the birth chart of the S&P to understand more of the details rather than just what you'll hear on the news is the S&P is this number, it's this price or that price. We're going to use the energetic symbolism of what's actually affecting the S&P to do a deeper dive diagnostic for you guys right here, right now.
All right, guys, so here it is. So that is March 4th, 1957. That was one lady who wrote on the comment sector, I don't have the right, I do have the right time. So this is from Susan, and this is the right time for S&P. It has a Gemini rising. Uranus gonna come over here, so it's going to make actually this market, this platform very volatile, right? Some of them going to increase like crazy, and the other one even going to get out from the 500 stocks from here, and it's not going to be there anymore, right? That's what you explained before. What is going to, so you always have to see the whole entire, I have a really good brain, I remember everything, thanks God, all the data. So I know, exactly the time when North Node, for example, went to Pisces, and it's S&P has a Pisces sun, right? And we have Juno, Venus exalted over here. So anything to do with pharmaceuticals, anything to do. And actually, Trump just said he want to actually make the insulins available for $80 instead of 1,200 something, which is like insane. Other countries, insulin are 40, 60, $10, and in America it's over 1,200. I have a dear friend who is diabetic, and when Trump said, okay, it's going to be $80, obviously, what is Venus? Venus in Pisces exalted. Venus is sugar level. It's the insulin medication. So actually anything to do with diabetes medication, Ozempic, and anything to do with weight loss medication could increase, right? Anything to do with oil. Why do I talk about still oil? We're not gonna have oil, most likely in 10 years. We're going to move forward, and everything going to be unconventional energy, and we're going to use, the air, and the sun energy and everything else but oil. But right now, we're still going to have new deposits. Why? Because technology is so improved, we're going to be capable actually see under a certain level of ocean level, we're gonna see the deposit of the oil, what we couldn't see. But because of technology right now, we will be capable to drill in Greenland or anything to do with icy area and anything to do with deep water drilling. So we're still going to have oil. So oil could also increase, okay? Pharmaceutical oil, natural gas, it could increase because that's in the SPX 500, and North Node going to affect them over here. So it's going to increase the value of that. Also something to do with boats, because Mercury is vehicle, and actually Saturn anything to do with boats, especially in Pisces. So big ships, for example, and also a lot of small boats. So the value of those also could increase. Why? Because North Node in Pisces is flood disaster. It is the great flood. Okay. So because we're going to experience a lot more flooding, people are going to have a lot more boats to escape. So, it's also a good investment, but you always do your own research over here. I'm just mentioning that Mercury is a vehicle. Saturn, it says it's boat, or anything to do with submarines, boat,
I'll just say
locomotive.
something that's interesting for the few millionaires or the few multimillionaires that might be watching. um, some of what's interesting about Pisces and boats to people who have a lot of wealth and might have this interest is the idea of sovereignty and maritime law. If you are able to live on your boat and you have some concerns about what's happening in the world, and you don't want to be under certain jurisdictions, then you might just go out under the water and you'll be under different laws compared to
Yep.
citizens who might be living in a place that they don't necessarily like. So if you are somebody who has that kind of money and you're in a country that you don't see what you like politically, these are some of the things that people who have the means are looking at. So when you don't have that kind of let's say money or understanding of the world, you might wonder why would somebody spend 10 or 20 million dollars on a boat that just seems like you
Or
know
more.
what is that for? That just seems like a big waste of money. But that some of it has to do with laws and things that we don't understand.
Tax.
You might see an increase in that with this Piscean energy. That's why I bring that up, is you might
Yes.
see an increase in boats or expensive boats becoming a more of a popular thing in some circles. I don't know if some
Taxation.
industries, but that might be a helpful tip to some of you.
Yeah, it's taxation, right?
Mhm.
Because on the water, it's different rules. On the other hand, also, because of Pisces rules, glamour by Neptune, and it is anything to do with singers, P. Diddy, whatever. They can go out on the boat, and the law is not going to affect. And Pisces also jail guys. So a lot of people to actually not to get jail time or go to a prison, they can get out and different laws, and they're not going to be able to actually bring them in, perhaps. So it could mean that as well. Yes, Pisces also anything to do with drug cartel as well. So in general, pharmaceuticals could be still something over here, even if Trump is against cartel, and it's going to because they said. And if you remember my very first video, also with Sama 2 years ago or a year and a half, I said, whoever going to get in position, the person going to be someone who is going against cartel. And I thought it's Kennedy because I always see the the new government to be Democrat and Republican together, but it is. It is, guys, because Tulsi, Kennedy, Elon, those are all Democratic Party who came to join over here. Obviously, that is something we never seen before. We never seen a genius tech guy actually to giving advices for a sitting president over there. And Trump's love to be center of attention. He loves to talk. And the last conference that I was watching over there and Elon was talking, Elon was really good because he gave always, honor and recognition for him. But anyway, so obviously we see something what we never saw before. And that's what I was talking about before. But okay, here it is. And as I said before, Trump is not out from danger. It could be like Vance is taking over, right? So yes. However, here it is the thing, it's SPX and S&P 500, I'm sorry, S&P 500, anything to do with pharmaceutical, gas and oil, North Node, because North Node is transiting. Plus, why? Because just we had February 1st and 7th, we had Venus in exaltation, North Node and Pisces, which didn't happen only in 1856 was previously when it's happened in Pisces, guys. So it's once in a lifetime experience, really, and it's going to affect the stock and anything to do with luxurious good. Venus exalted in Pisces. Pisces is glamour, luxurious good. You will see, for example, people start to collect very expensive arts because they're going to preserve their money in it. Saturn is watchmaker. A lot of either it's gonna be boat to invest in big yacht and luxurious boats, or also it could indicate because of the flood, right? Everything is interconnected. That's how we checking, that's how we analyzing. And a lot of people going to invest in watches as well, very expensive watches, okay? So there is like
There's watches called submariner watches for going deep too, right?
yeah,
For swimming.
yes,
So it's
yeah,
all
you
connected.
have, yeah, it could be as well. Then we're going to have a change, Neptune and Saturn, synodic cycle again on 0 degree areas, which is actually the world axis major shift in humanity life, major shift. First of all, Neptune and Saturn. Saturn could be death, guys. Neptune could be virus, new virus. What kind of virus? Which is affecting the head, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, Uranus and Mars conjunction before, it could be some kind of E. coli or mad cow disease or something which is affecting the beef. Anyway, we're gonna move actually toward to more plant-based. By 2028, you will see we're going to move away a little bit from meat. But yes, it could bring in a new, I'm not saying a new pandemic or lockdown, not necessarily lockdown. It could be some kind of new virus coming, but of course it's going to affect the market, right? So over here, what we have, Neptune in Aries, right? And actually it's, and Saturn over here as well in the 11th house of S&P. Well, and progress Venus is there already, and it's in detriment. From May on, because that's when it's going to conjunct, but 2026 February going to be the real first conjunction. It's going to influence actually again for example, diamond, coal, steel, and iron as well. Saturn could actually create something like we're not going to have enough because we used all the resources. So you will see we are moving away from that. Why? Because Pluto in Aquarius and Uranus in Gemini, we're gonna have 15 minutes villages, guys.
This is the situation we're already in. This is how governments see things. So this is why they don't, and they won't come out and say this, but this is why they don't have a problem with the tariffs being on things mostly like food and lumber. And this is why I went in and actually looked at these things myself. Things like semiconductors or petroleum, there's no tariffs on those, which help people like Donald Trump or people who are in the technological sectors to build AI. So we are in a situation where there aren't as many resources and there are those that are aware of that. And I want you guys to be aware of that as well so that you are accumulating things that are of value to you and your families while they're still available. And also understanding that the fact that globalization is dying, it's dead, like I said years ago, that also has an inflationary effect as countries will end up doing less and less trade amongst borders themselves. So Americans that have been enjoying cheap stuff from China, that might change. And we've been used to that for 30 years. So again, we are going into time periods that we have not lived through before. Please be prepared. Please take heed to what Christina and I are saying and start to make changes if you haven't already.
So Saturn Neptune over here, what I was talking about Elon Musk, because of Aries is really fast. Saturn Neptune underwater tunnels where is quick trains and no traffic, right? So if you see something in the market, it's coming out an IPO for that kind of fast train, it's going to grow, right? Because this is a new investment over there. So it's obvious it's going to grow. The other hand, Uranus is right now on Mars of the S&P, but it's going to move to the ascendant. Obviously, anything to do with technology. By that time, Jupiter gonna go to Cancer, so anything to do with the second house is the resources. So anything to do with lumber, anything to do which is actually building the houses, right? But it could be also technological as well, like 3D printed houses as well, ChatGPT, lithium, uranium, anything to do with cryptocurrency also going to be really, really increasing during this time. All right, so that's for sure here. And I'm gonna send, let me just do another share here because of, I went way into this and it was too much about this particular stock and I wanted to also share other things. Okay, right now I'm capable to share more things. So for example, I also want to talk about tin a little bit. Tin ruled by Jupiter, Jupiter going to be exalted, guys. And it's going to be also a really good investment for a while. And I just want to have here, and I put the tin, and here it is. and with transit. So that is a new chart. Do you see the new chart for the tin? It's came up already. May 15, 1929 29 is the birthday in New York. uh, Jupiter gonna go actually exaltation in the first house. The tin has actually a 26-degree Cancer ascendant. Obvious the value of the tin is going to increase during this time. I just wanted to show you that, guys. Why
Gonna-
do I sin?
So that's really going to be more prominent around, let's say, the second quarter of next year, right? And
Yes.
2026, really getting
Yes.
started this June, right?
Yes, Jupiter, Pluto also going to Jupiter going to transit the tin natal Pluto, and Jupiter Pluto conjunction is the billionaire conjunction. So the value of that going to be end of the year 2025, it could be really, really high.
So that's going to probably be like a surprise to market participants, actually, or something is going to change, perhaps with AI or energy usage that is going to increase the demand or need for tin, you know.
Because we with North Node and we have the eclipses in Pisces, right? We're going to have a lot more activity, pirate activity on the oceans, and because of that, like the export import plus the tariff plus how Mexico answered back and Canada answered back, and right now India is taking on to Trump's initiatives, but Russia is not. So if a lot of countries is against and they cutting out actually the US, and also we're going to have in decrease in food supplies because we cannot import anymore, or it is going to be really expensive. And then also there is starving countries, there is floods all over, there is a lot of earthquake. Uranus, unfortunately, I'm sorry to say that, guys, that's gonna happen. That's why the pirate activity on the ocean could actually increase, and that's why we're going to have sometimes, we're not gonna have available some kind of things, and that's why you need to use something else until you can get back, to use uranium again, or tin, for example, iron again, or steel or whatever. So this is going to be something which is coming in temporary until, because Jupiter is in Cancer only for a year, so the tin going to be only for a year. You can trade on this because it's going to be very prominent.
Awesome. Thank you. So this is still tin, or what is this up here? I think I froze. Let's see. Yeah, my internet.
Decrease because of Uranus. Uranus is in detriment in the 10th house, and it was squaring with the ascendant. But silver has a Gemini stellium, guys, and it has actually a new moon in Gemini. It has Venus, Mercury over there. Uranus gonna go in July 7th to Gemini. Silver going to increase as well, and we're going to use silver actually instead of lithium and uranium in small devices, right? In something to do with phones and anything to do with computers. So silver price is going to become increase first of all, and also it's going to be, and it's gonna have a Jupiter return in Cancer in exaltation.
Couple of years ago, I said gold would be $3,000, and here we are. It's also going to go much higher, and we'll get there in time. Silver is right next to gold as it relates to that, although silver has an issue gold does not, which is related to the carrying cost of silver. That's a technical thing I'm not going to get into right now, but it's still rising even with that problem. That's an issue that happens in high interest rate environments, and silver is still going up. So what does that tell you? We are in a cycle in which a lot of these metals are only going to get increasingly more expensive until, if you did watch that climate change wars video I mentioned, until 2032, you guys. So there's long tailwinds of profitability to be made with these metals, gold and both silver. And silver is a lot more affordable than gold is. So whether you consider yourself poor or wealthy, there's not really an excuse other than fear or maybe a lack of knowledge to not look at silver. And that's something you can change by just getting yourself more educated. But from two astrologers here, silver has a very bright future ahead.
Yeah. And look at Silver Dragon. Actually, I do have a lot of people over here who I'm watching on YouTube, and that is actually the Zip Trader. I still watch Warren Buffett. I just love him. I know a lot of people hates him. And I do have the Silver Dragon also. So those are very, very great. They don't know astrology, but they are great about this. And silver, actually, in our writing 2025 horoscope, what we are selling with Sama, I also wrote about the portfolio, how you can start it very, very small. You know, you don't need to, if you don't have money or if you feel like you are in a stage where you can't afford, you still can buy one coin, one by one, just a little extra money and slowly actually increase your portfolio. And not in one basket. You have to have a diversity over here. But on those writing, we wrote about everything like how to start it, where to invest, where to keep your cryptocurrency, you know, cold wallets and things like that. Everything. So you get education, also financial investment as well. So silver going to be great over here. Plus, we have North Node for the next 18 months, actually, until 2026, August 28, the last eclipse in Pisces. We have that in the eighth house. So that is the finances of the silver. Obviously, North Node acting like Jupiterian energy. So it's going to increase. Let me quickly go because we talked a lot over here. And I just gonna go actually to gold right now before we going to go and before we going to go to stellar and Bitcoin and things like that. All right, what's going to happen with gold over here? So here is gold is December 31st and it is 1974. It does have an Aquarius ascendant Capricorn stellium in the 12th house, right? Gold is with Capricorn stellium in the 12. It's always like good to be in the closet, good to be in the bank safes, like gold bars, because it's something stable. If something happen, you know, with the financial market, it's hidden somewhere. So that's what it is. Gold is very stable over there. All right. So it's North Node is traveling the second house, which is the value and finances. So it's going to increase the value and the value of gold, and even the confidence around gold, because second house is confidence as well, and the investment confidence going to be okay. Let us to invest over here because I can say it's stable. Actually, it is helping me to preserve my money, preserve. And I always tell people, not borrow right away. Try to buy first coins, guys. So whatever it is, coins are really, really great. Pluto in the first house of gold. Obviously, this is a major change over here. Yes. So it is also going to bring in positivity with gold. Why? Because it's going to trine with Uranus in the fifth house. Uranus is investment. Uranus in Gemini going to do well. It's creating a trine with Pluto, and it's going to also sextile with Neptune in the third house. So actually, to buy, sell, going to be really easy. Knowledge about investing in gold going to be very easy. They're going to perhaps teach children in school. Third house is children, right over there with primary education. They're going to teach them how to do taxes or how to invest in precious metals, right? So gold also still going to be a great investment over there, especially from July on when it's going to trine between Uranus and Pluto, right? And North Node still in the second house. So yes, it will. All right, then we're going to go actually, and we're going to go to not the gold, but let me see what else we can talk about. Okay, we can talk about stellar, the USD, America a little bit, just really, really
Let's
shortly
wrap
here.
up. Let's wrap up with Bitcoin and maybe we'll
Okay,
do XRP.
okay. Let's go with Bitcoin over here. Just so you know, the US dollar gonna have a Saturn return in detriment. So just think what's gonna happen exactly with the dollar itself. It might gonna disappear. Right now already we don't have pennies. It's being out of the circle.
So
But
when is the timing on that?
Saturn return it's in 2 years.
And so
Because
on the dollar. Where
yes, on the dollar. Yes, on the dollar. Yeah. Yes. Yes, and in America also we just had a Pluto return, gonna have a Uranus return recently, so that's a lot of rebellion activity. So it's gonna lead to that, but here it is. Here is Bitcoin. All right, January 3rd, 2009, somebody brought me, they
I'll
used.
just 'cause I'll say this on the dollar where I talk about this. I'll be talking about more about my thoughts on the dollar in my tier two of my newsletter. But the dollar being suppressed in the chart for a time being is likely going to mean that life becomes, let's say, the cost of money becomes cheaper for people. And that means that Donald or whoever's the president is going to be working with the Fed to make money printing or make the flow of money more easier. And that's probably as a result of the market dropping. That's my perspective on that. That's not financial advice, but that's very likely what's going to happen with the dollar. Because to remind you guys are seeing a lot on social media from all these people saying the dollar is going to die or end and all that stuff. The dollar will change, it will shift, but you have to understand that every other currency in the world is on the chopping block first. The dollar
Yes.
is last because the dollar runs the global economic system. The dollar dying means, okay, well, then what system are we going to? You don't have an answer for that, do you? Right? So until you see an answer for that on the world stage, don't listen to these people saying the dollar's going to die tomorrow. Okay, well then what are you going to spend tomorrow? You don't have an answer for that. So you as a person, you're probably going to hold on to your dollars. So be careful who you're listening to out there. There's a lot of people who say things that don't know what they're talking about. Donald likes a cheap dollar. So that's probably what we're seeing during that Saturn return. And it could be also too what Christina and I touched on earlier in terms of is there a transformation happening with the Federal Reserve and how money is being printed? Is it being digified? Is it being destroyed and made digital? Is that what we're seeing? It could be some of that too. Okay. All right. Now let's wrap up with Bitcoin.
All right. So here it is, Bitcoin. Bitcoin actually is January 3rd, 2009 here. That is the 6:15 p.m. Somebody has London, somebody has Ireland, Dublin. So I checked a lot of charts over here. Anyway, has a Leo rising, right? So it's the moon and the rising anyway going to trine and Neptune coming here March 30th. And Neptune is inflation and Saturn is deflation. So Neptune and Saturn going to conjunct over here eventually in 2026 on the moon of Bitcoin. So people going to lose trust in Bitcoin at one point. Why? Because of it could be some kind of activity which is cyber attack activity. Bitcoin, if you are not going to put that in cold wallet and it could be easily stolen, that's why actually the trust in
You know what
Bitcoin
I
to be
think it
gone.
is? You know what I think it is? And uh, I'm not making this as a firm prediction yet, but what it could be is the involvement of people like Larry Fink and Trump actually changing the inflation rate of Bitcoin. They don't have to do that actually to the code itself. They can just do that with their ETFs. But I think people's perception of the fact that, hey, this was supposed to protect us from inflation, I think they might modify or change that and that could really damage people's perception or the value that they have in Bitcoin. So that is something to watch for in terms of a potential outcome. Those of you who are really into Bitcoin and crypto. I'll talk about that more in another video.
But on the other hand, it is also something to do with cybersecurity, and it's going to be because the sun, the Bitcoin sign, Jupiter
That
is
could be a code
already,
change. That could be a change to the code.
yeah, yeah. As I said, Jupiter is already in on Mercury, the progress Jupiter, and Jupiter Pluto conjunction always the billionaire. So definitely it's going to rise, but progress Sun right now, it's also going to enter by the summer, it's going to enter the seventh house, and Pluto going back and forth. And Pluto, when involved either the natal Sun or progress Sun, guys, there is always cybersecurity issue. There is always stealing. There is always millionaires going to disappear or something like that. But it's the open enemy of Bitcoin. So someone who wants to have traditional banking, it could be the shadow government, Pluto, right? So they still want their power, and they don't want digitalized money. They don't want people to really be capable to be abundant and anyone to be. They want to still keep the power over here. So that could actually, and because of the moon is the way we feel about it, and it is the people who invest, and Saturn, Neptune over there, it could be like, you know what? Yes, I'm not sure if I'm going to trust Bitcoin right now, at least for a while. Or if you don't know how to actually make sure that is not going to be attacked or somebody stealing from your account. Because that's what happened when Pluto by transit went on the
Mm.
sun, the natal
That's the
sun,
other thing
it's
I forgot about too, is quantum computing being
mhm,
a
quantum computing.
thing
Yeah.
with hacking, right?
Yeah, and there is a lot of genius new children. Oh my God, this generation, my son's age, they are like genius with hacking and everything. So they really, really good. And here it is. So Bitcoin is here, and just quickly, let's go to Ripple and Stellar. Just for 1 second, I'm gonna show the chart for you guys. Over here, this is what this is XRP, has a stellium in Gemini, obvious guys, and an ascendant in Cancer, Jupiter going to inflate, and Uranus going to also inflate the price, increase the price. So from July on, we can see some kind of increase in XRP. And also here it is just 1 second, XRP, and oh my God. I have to buy, I don't care about Biden anymore. I have to put him out from my chart because there is so much and we don't care anymore. Okay, here is actually XLM. By the way, I did analyze also Rocket Lab, but that's later on because it could be also really great. But look at that right now, the Stellar, and actually we invested in Stellar and XRP and we're doing really good with that, even if right now it went down because of this new situation with tariff, everything, it's still coming back. As you can see, part of Fortune, Neptune over here, Venus, it is doing a beautiful grand trine, guys. That is definitely going to help XRP on a long term.
So
And
I have
you
a
always
question for you. Along when I first got into crypto, I actually used to see, and I'm sure they're still out there, like different psychics talking about XLM or XRP being some kind of currency in the future that banks or people use. Do you see maybe that being more prevalent, whether it's with banks or countries, that these are going to be, let's say, a lot more these particular currencies might be a lot more used by people in particular, maybe than other cryptos. Is that
yeah.
your feeling? Is that what you're seeing?
Yes, because of look at that. They have actually the stellar has a midheaven in Gemini. So when Uranus going to be over here for 7 years, it's going to increase significantly, and it's going to be very, very prominent, just like the stellium for Ripple as well. And with the Cancer ascendant, yes, definitely, definitely going to be. And you were talking about Pluto and Jupiter conjunction in Capricorn and Pluto and Saturn. Pluto Saturn conjunction, it started a synodic cycle, and
Mhm.
because of it was in Capricorn, it's taking out not just the boomers, but
Mhm.
it's taking all the shadow government and the old government. It's gonna diminish them. They still hold on to, right? but
Mm.
somehow slowly they're going to get rid of them. They are dying out, they're very old, and they're not going to be able to transfer their agenda on the new generation. And on the other hand, Pluto Jupiter, that is a totally different kind of abundance and wealth, it's
Mm.
going and bringing in opportunity, quick opportunity. Jupiter is social planet, it's quicker, right, than Pluto, quicker opportunity to become rich and become actually a billionaire. So that Pluto Jupiter, which we are talking about 2019 and 20, when the COVID started, and 19 also over there, Saturn Jupiter, right? So that's all started the synodic cycle, which is taking out the shadow government, the old dated everything, and it's going to bring in a new kind of abundance. And because of we have Pluto in Aquarius, Uranus in Gemini, it's going to be air-based, and it's going to be belong from humanity, belong from us, and it's not going to be money-based. So that's why I see the Saturn return in US. Maybe we're just gonna start to use digital currency and everything like that. So you will see the transition of the real money. It's not gonna be like it was before. So, there is a lot of chart over here. You knew how we analyze, how much work in this, like it's really deep analysis. And yes, so that's what's going to happen over here. And we don't have time. I have my client coming on soon. We don't have a lot more time to talk, but obviously we can talk hours.
This was great. There's plenty of value. I think people are gonna love it. And like we said earlier, we're gonna do more of this. So you guys can just subscribe to my channel, Christina's channel. Look up theurbanwitch.org. She has a book coming out. She always has books coming out. Very
Yeah.
productive person. And so keep in tune with us. There is more to come. And yeah, put in the comment section what you liked, what you didn't like, what assets you're interested in covering. And yeah, we'll see you guys next time. Bye.
All right. See you guys soon. Bye for now.